Good morning. As the Chief Information Officer for NCAP Insurance, it's a great pleasure to have you all here with me today. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about cloud computing. See, the convergence of three technologies, mainly cloud, mobility, and analytics, is transforming the value proposition of the insurance companies and the products they offer their clients. As competitive pressures within the industry increase from non-traditional rivals, as well as the ever-widening stable of product offerings from traditional competitors, insurance companies need to resort to technology for assistance in this changed environment. Let's have a look at the agenda. So initially, I'll take you through what cloud computing is, the cloud service models. We'll also have a look at the benefits which are yet to be tapped as a result of introducing cloud technologies, understand what risks and concerns are, and it's interesting for us to also identify what are the key drivers for cloud adoption. Then we'll move on to the financials with the sensitivity analysis, and summarize with the conclusion. Cloud computing is a model for enabling convenient on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources, for instance, networks, servers, storage applications, and services, that can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimum management effort or service provider interaction. So essentially, cloud computing means that the customers do not own the physical infrastructure. And also, cloud computing users tend to avoid capital expenditure on hardware, software, and services, where they resort to a pay. Let's move on to the benefits of cloud computing, mainly in terms of cost savings. There's no need of high-powered, high-priced computers. The typical PC does not require high processing power or hard disk space, and there are no software requirements. You only pay for what you use. It's easy to install and maintain, and there's an unlimited amount of storage capacity. Mobility and device independence is also a benefit, and you can actually share your resources. Backups and restorations are also another added benefit. When analyzing the risk and concerns, one of the main challenges insurance companies would face is in terms of data privacy and the security concerns. For instance, the customer's sensitive personal data can be compromised on a public cloud, and any leak of such customer data could have huge reputational implications. Also important is the constant network connectivity and bandwidth. Service unavailability due to power shortages can also have critical impact on the organization. Now let's look at the key drivers for NCAP cloud adoption. The call for fast deployment in the industry is to shorten the time to implement new IT applications. An increasingly competitive global insurance market in which insurers are pressured to reduce the time to market for new products and services is driving a higher focus on achieving IT agility and shortening deployment times. Need for better business agility is mainly in terms of achieving a highly agile and efficient IT organization that can provide IT services on demand, further enabling business units to consider a variety of innovative business solutions that can quickly be brought to the operations as needed. Expanding the global footprint is in order to reduce the risk of overdependence, achieve a high level of flexibility and standardization, and look at cheaper integration options. The increasing cost pressures obviously have a huge impact on the organization, and especially in terms of a market where premiums are reduced. The challenge would be to reduce costs of IT ownership. Moving on to the cloud development models, starting off with the private cloud. Private clouds are dedicated to a single company for private use and can either be built within a company's premises or located off-premise. They are owned and provided by an external third party to deliver virtualized application, infrastructure, and communication services for internal business users. A public cloud, on the other hand, is mainly in order to be accessible to the public over a network and fully owned and provided by external third parties. Now, the community cloud would mainly be a collaborative resources shared between a limited number of selected organizations with common interests, perhaps in the same industry or geographical location, with cost spread across the users. The hybrid model, however, is a combination of two or more public, private, or community clouds, and companies utilize hybrid cloud solutions to blend the benefits of different cloud models, enabling them to retain confidential information in a private cloud or community cloud, while providing access to the wider variety of cloud computing services available in public clouds. Moving on to cloud delivery models, we have infrastructure as a service, which refers to highly standardized computing infrastructure components provided over the public internet and shared among a large number of users. For instance, we can see examples like Amazon's S3 and Microsoft Windows Azure, which are some of the commonly used IaaS platforms. Software as a service would mainly refer to the software application functionality which is delivered over a public internet where the application resources are shared among a large number of users. Platform as a service represents a completely pre-integrated platform offering the development and operation of general purpose business applications. Some examples are NetSuite, Salesforce, etc. It's important to identify the strategic cloud adoption strategies. Initially, you identify the opportunities and then implement the cloud solution. Once implemented, the cloud solution needs to be monitored and opportunities and threats identified. Once these opportunities and threats are identified, we move in to a drive of continual process improvement. And then this improvement must be compared with the cloud health and ensure that it is in line with the industry benchmark. This cycle would rotate. In terms of NCAP, it makes sense for an initial establishment of a private cloud, which would then move into a community cloud. Service delivery levels would be in terms of considering software as a service to trial the cloud adoption. Maturity model interestingly talks about dividing the journey to the cloud, achieving maturity into three phases, starting with commodity ID such as email and storage, and then stepping up functional applications such as business intelligence, and finally progressing to core business applications in the cloud such as policy management, claims, and billing. Clearly, different insurers will move into the cloud at their own pace, reflecting the unique characteristics of their business and competitive environment they face. However, our industry experience and insights indicate that the industry's high performance would realize all the available value from level 1 and then proactively and systematically explore opportunities at level 2, and from there onwards move to level 3 as the cloud matures and as the depth and scope of the cloud ecosystem increases. Practices in cloud computing determine how the solution provider stores the data. We also need to decide what data to move to the cloud. Then also it's important for us to review the service level agreements and comply with the data privacy requirements in the industry. We also need to develop a data backup and recovery strategy so that we are not completely dependent on the cloud. So we need to set up a comprehensive strategy to manage the cloud transition and keep up to date with the latest cloud security developments. Now moving into the sensitivity analysis. We assume a discount rate of 10% and an appraisal period of 6 years. And we have identified the benefits in terms of the rent savings from the servers, electricity savings, maintenance benefits, improved efficiencies, and security savings. However, on the cost side, there's obviously cost involved in server hosting, the storage, agreements with internet service providers, requirements for internet bandwidth, and of course on staff training. Now the summary of the results are in terms of the capital expenditure, which is $2,000, and we have identified the present value of the benefits to be $5.8 million, while the present value of the cost to be 4.8 or rather 4.9 million. Now this constitutes a benefit cost ratio of about 1.2, and the net present value of this project to be in the region of $900,000. Now, this we believe to be the base case scenario. Now let's look at the positive outcomes. So based on our assumption of the discount rate at 10% and the appraisal period for 6 years, the worst case scenario would be in terms of a drop in security savings by 25%, which is a drop in a benefit, and of course increased costs on server hosting and staff training. The best case scenario would be that there would not be any changes to the benefits. However, the costs on server hosting might reduce by 25%, and the staff training cost also could decrease by about 25%. So this would be our best case. And on the reduced cost on capital, we consider a discount rate of 8%, and compare these three scenarios in the sensitivity analysis. When comparing the scenarios, we see the base case scenario to be quite attractive, with an internal rate of return of 25% and a payback period of 4.61 years, with a net present value of about $900,000. The worst case scenario, however, shows that the NPV goes minus to about $137. However, the internal rate of return and payback period can be looked at in terms of justifying the scenario. The best case scenario would be an ideal situation, which would mean that the net present value would be about 1.6 million, while amazing 36% return, internal rate of return could be achieved. The 8% discounted cash flows scenario would mean that the project is quite feasible and attractive at that level. We have based the cost benefit analysis at a discount rate, a base rate of 10%. Finally, in concluding, what we can basically recommend is for adoption of the cloud technology. However, we should keep in mind to review the IT assets and applications for their alignment with the company's strategic aims and challenges. We also need to ensure that we suppress the costs and expenses and create change towards a more productive and collaborative environment. And remember, migration to a cloud is a journey.